is The Sports Life.
Setting a couple of screens of the Boilermakers into Travion. He'll catch and shoot. He made it! He made it! He made it!
Shot.
4 seconds on the clock. Michigan State racing to the other end. 3 seconds. Here's a shot at the buzzer. No good! No good! Purdue wins! Purdue wins!
What a
Purdue
win
wins!
for the Boilers!
Iowa with a long three, and he buried it. Big Ten Tournament Championship comes to Champaign.
And welcome into the Sports Life. Will teaming here along with Dalton Scheller. A couple of fun moments from 2021. Rob Blackman with the big Purdue win, and Brian Barnhart gets a call, a championship for the Fighting Illini in the Big Ten Tournament. Well, we have a pretty interesting show for you lined up this week, I do believe. And one of the things we're going to talk about is a brand new bill produced by Joe Tate. He's a representative in the Michigan House of Representatives. And what's interesting about it is his take on how to protect student athletes in their search for the right way to conduct themselves with NIL.
That'll be fascinating to get to a little bit later on. And also the Big Ten Volleyball Media Days took center stage earlier this week. We're going to be joined by BTN analyst for volleyball, Elena Shklyar, and of course, an alum of the Big Ten Conference Volleyball League, as we'll break down what some of the interesting storylines are for Big Ten volleyball. And the basketball tournament gets ready to have somebody make a shot for $1 million. As we do every year, we have the founder of the tournament, Jonathan Mugar, join us as we talk about how this idea has exploded with fan interest in the middle of the summer.
You know, we have a hoop here in the office. We take shots.
We do pretty well.
But we don't get $1 million.
Yeah, we haven't seen that paycheck yet.
Not yet. Well, as we count down to the beginning of this year's Big Ten football season, we have been saluting highlights from previous years. In Dalton, today we've worked our way to 2021.
That's right, and let's start off with a flurry. You just heard from Brian Barnhart because Illinois had a great moment in basketball at the beginning of this show. Well, how about on the gridiron, where they knocked off a top-ranked Penn State team? It took 9 overtimes to find a winner. This is shortly after the rules changed for overtimes, and it became just 2-point conversions at a certain point. Finally, Illinois in 9 overtimes would survive Penn State 20-18, and here's what the final sounded like.
In motion, Navarro. Fake. Peters rolls to the end zone. It is caught. It is caught. Yes! And it's good. Yes! And the Illini have won. They have upset number 7 Penn State. They caught it in the end zone. 2 points. The Illini are running all over the field, trying to find other people to hug. And on the replay, I want to see in the back of the end zone who it was.
That's Casey Washington.
Casey Washington.
The game is over.
Casey Washington with a catch. The Illini have upset Penn State 20-18. Can you believe it?
Well, what I can't believe is the game ended tied at 10-10. They played 4 hours and 10 minutes. Most overtimes in a Division I FBS game, longest game in the history of the Big Ten in that terms. And 4 hours and 10 minutes later, Dalton, the final score is 20-18. It's not like 60-something to 50.
I love that so much. But that wasn't the only exciting thing in Big Ten football, because in 2021, we had a battle of unbeatens for the Paul Bunyan Trophy. It was Michigan State and Michigan colliding, both undefeated on the season, and Michigan State would come from behind, trailing 30-14, thanks to Kenneth Walker's 5-touchdown performance against the Wolverines. Here's what the 5th one sounded like, and the interception to seal it, as the Spartans would take home Paul Bunyan.
Peyton Thorne's in the pistol with Kenneth Walker behind him. A handoff to Kenneth Walker. Blows through the Wolverines. On his feet at the 10. He's into the end zone. Touchdown MSU. Do you believe it? Kenneth Walker III with a 23-yard touchdown run. That's his 5th TD of the ball game. First down, Michigan. 1:09 to play. They have no timeout. Spartans 37, Michigan 33. McNamara throws it right sideline. It is
picked. It's picked.
And it's
That's
picked.
the ball game, baby.
The Spartans have picked it off.
Is that
Charles Brantley with the interception.
And no doubt that was it. And Michigan State would win that game. Of course, George Blaha, the legendary voice of MSU football. And the thing that was interesting, when Walker got the 5 touchdowns against Michigan, that was a big deal, right? And I really thought the season he was having, and he was doing it, and I don't want to say that the MSU offensive line wasn't great, but average would be about as far as I could go.
Right.
And so for him to be posting world-class numbers and scoring all these touchdowns, I was convinced after that performance he clearly would find his way to New York as one of the finalists for the Heisman. And to this day, I'm still not sure what happened.
Even in that fifth touchdown on TV, Gus Johnson had said, "Hello, New York City. I'll see you there." Because it felt like it was a shoo-in deal that he was going to be a Heisman finalist. And I'm not sure. Somebody really messed up some votes if you didn't put him there.
Yeah, and he did win the Doak Walker Award as the best running back in college football. That one I agree with.
Yeah, there we go. Well, let's get to our last moment, and this actually is a positive one for the Wolverines. Michigan, taking on Ohio State, would knock off the Buckeyes. Now, remember the context here, folks. This win in 2021 is the first Michigan win over Ohio State in a decade. The first one since 2011. Hassan Haskins would have 5 touchdowns against Ohio State in this win for the Wolverines. Here's the 5th touchdown, and you'll also get to hear from head coach Jim Harbaugh afterwards as well.
Gives it to Haskins. Haskins scores untouched from the 4-yard line. His 5th of the day, and the Wolverines extend their lead. Back to throw. Ojabo gets back there, forced Stroud out. Throw the ball down. That's caught, but it's short of the first down. That's it. It's caught by Olave, but it's 5 yards short of the first down. That'll do it. Ladies and gentlemen, the long drought is over. Ohio State is vanquished. 42-27 is the score, and the Wolverines are going to go to Indianapolis.
What did? I mean, I know that probably things you're thinking of are the same as I'm thinking of, but, I mean, let's move on with humble hearts, take the high road, but there's definitely stuff that people said that spurred us on even more. Sure. Sometimes people that are standing on third base think they hit a triple, but they didn't.
If you're on third base, how'd you get there? I've always wondered about that. But Jim Harbaugh makes some humbling comments after the game. Of course, Jim Brandstetter on the call. Well, since that, the Buckeyes haven't won a game against their rival.
Wild. I mean, that series has completely flipped on its head. Just a wild thing to experience.
When we come back, we're going to visit with Joe Tate, a former Michigan State All-Conference performer in football, and his brand new bill in the House of Representatives in Michigan trying to help players with their NIL situation. It's all coming up in just a moment.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender?
How little?
A few days in the shop little? But thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of uncertainty lurking under your hood. You know the feeling. I know I do. That sudden sinking sensation when you see a check engine light or your car unexpectedly breaks down and you're faced with sky-high repair bills. It's time to shield against unexpected repairs with CarShield. CarShield is America's most trusted auto protection company and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Don't let the fear of a breakdown keep you up at night. Trust the Shield, CarShield, and say goodbye to terrifying repair bills and hello to peace of mind. Your plan also comes with 24/7 roadside assistance, courtesy towing, rental car options, and so much more. Don't wait till it's too late. Call CarShield now before a breakdown. Protect your wallet. Protect your car with CarShield. Get our best protection ever. Call now. You'll thank me later. 800-965-1292. 800-965-1292. That's 800-965-1292.
So, got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Roxanne Watson is on a mission.
Hello, how are you
doing today?
She wants more people to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors.
Are you an organ donor?
Yes, I am.
Yay. My goal is to sign up the most people in the United States.
What drives her? Roxanne's own life was saved through the gift of a heart transplant, made possible by an organ donor.
I decided that day that I was going to devote myself to the cause of organ donation and signing people up and honoring my donor by doing that.
Now she's back to health, and she's a powerful force helping to save lives every day through her work. Imagine what you can make possible by leaving behind the gift of life.
8 people can be helped with the major organs, and up to 50 people can be helped with a little bit of everything. And when you think about it that way, that you could help that many people, it's amazing. It really is.
Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. Will Tiemann here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, Joe Tate represents District 2 of the state of Michigan's House of Representatives. Joe, a former Speaker of the House, has introduced a bill to the Michigan House, House Bill number 4643. The goal of the bill is to protect the name, image, and likeness of college athletes. Now, one of the intriguing elements of this bill is that Representative Tate, as you might say, has a between-the-lines feel for the NIL situation. Joe was an all-conference Big Ten performer for Michigan State from 2000 to 2003, winning 4 letters for the green and white while also serving as an MSU captain. And kind of another fun fact about Joe Tate's background is that he holds advanced degrees from both Michigan State and the University of Michigan. So we welcome into the show Representative Joe Tate. Joe, thanks for joining us. And I thought maybe we could just begin by talking about the purpose of your bill.
Absolutely, Will. And what this bill essentially does is it protects student athletes and allows them to take advantage of their name, image, and likeness. And specifically, it bars any entity from deciding whether a student athlete can enter into a NIL contract. That's something that's incredibly important, especially in this landscape, because we want to make sure that student athletes have the opportunity to take advantage of their NIL, and frankly, we don't want anyone standing in the way of these opportunities for them. And that's essentially what the bill does. And it builds off of what we've done here in Michigan a couple years ago to allow student athletes to enter into NIL contracts, as well as making sure that student athletes, if they want to have an agent, or it doesn't make that illegal in the state of Michigan.
So, Joe, considering what has happened with some rulings by the courts, if this bill passes within the state of Michigan, I'm guessing this limits university regulations.
It prevents. It essentially says, you can't, as an institution, bar a student athlete from having a contract. It's very similar to the legislation that we passed a couple of years ago. And as you know, with the recent ruling, the House versus NCAA, there was one component of that that outlined NIL Go. So essentially a clearinghouse where student athletes would be required to submit their proposed contract, and they would get a up or down from this third party clearinghouse. I think that essentially what we're trying to do is prevent processes like that, because as student athletes, they put in the work, put in the time, and if they're afforded this opportunity, no one should be able to stand in their way from being able to do that.
Joe, we talk about the entities. I mean, there we talk about it from the university side, but the NCAA will, of course, play some sort of role in some of this. And how does your bill 4643 prohibit maybe the NCAA coming in and if they want to be involved in a different kind of way or to try and overpower some things? How does this prohibit the NCAA's action?
It's if passed, it would be the law of the state of Michigan. So, they're and it's something that obviously I think every state takes seriously when having laws on the books. So it would conflict with that. So if the NCAA would try to enter into something that conflicts with state law, then there would be obviously more than a concern, but it would be something that we take very seriously here in Michigan. So I think that is something that we're trying to ensure that we're providing those protections for student athletes. But if it's the law of the state of Michigan and something conflicts with that, then we'll have to make sure that that the NCAA can't move in that direction here in the state of Michigan.
Joe, you had talked about with this bill, it would give the universities, athletically speaking, like Michigan State, University of Michigan, Central, the whole group straight across our state, it would give them an advantage. Can you go deeper into that, why it would do that?
Yes, absolutely. So, this bill is really about empowering student athletes. And I think when I can remember too, when I had football coaches in my living room or going to visit on campus, that they will always, they would pitch and talk about, what makes their institution different from another. And I think this definitely plays into it, because if you're saying to a student athlete, you're going to have the opportunity not only to be a student athlete, to earn your college education, earn your degree while you're in athletics, but also here's this other piece where you can take advantage of your name, image, and likeness, whatever that looks like, and something that wasn't afforded to student athletes several years ago. And there won't be any strings there. Like, you can go off and be creative in how you want to do this, and this could lead to other future opportunities. So I think it just adds an additional experience. It just makes their experience at the university more robust. And I think it's really an attraction and a tool to be used with saying, in the state of Michigan, you're not going to, we're empowering athletes, right? We're creating a level playing field for them to take advantage of the talents that they have and take advantage of their NIL. And we're going to protect, whatever resources that they're able to bring in and their earnings, and no one else is going to decide for you whether you can take advantage of this.
Joe, when we talk about this bill and how it helps so much, I mean, we're really talking about in assisting and accomplishing economic fairness. We're really discussing just that it's not putting caps on these athletes, right? And that was kind of the origin of this whole thing, not putting caps on these student athletes, allowing them to make whatever their value is, correct?
That is correct. So what you're seeing, I know the Congress has a SCORE Act that's coming in as well too. But it's essentially economic fairness. It's a free market approach where you're saying, like, you will be able to earn what you can and not have anyone restrict that. And I think that's ultimately something that is important to me. I know when you look at student athletes, just being able to take advantage of that and their economic earnings and what they can take away from that. So anything that we see, whether it's you know, the Trump administration and their executive order, which I know is still being drafted, um, or the SCORE Act in Congress, we have to make sure that there's not going to be fundamentally no limitations to student athletes being able to take advantage, because in no other market is that possible. No one else, if you're going into a role or a job and you agree with someone on how much that you can earn, there's no other third party that's saying like we have to be able to review this first. We've never seen, and definitely don't see that in the private sector, and I don't think that's something that's right at the end of the day.
Visiting with Joe Tate, Michigan House of Representative, and he's introduced a bill to talk about what's right for student athletes and NIL moving forward. And Joe, one of the unique things about your perspective on this, you've been an all Big Ten player at Michigan State. Also, you saw it from the coaching standpoint a little bit as a grad assistant when you came back to work on your master's at MSU. So as you look at your experience and you know the current landscape, do you think college athletics in general is heading in the correct direction?
I think generally we are. I think, this is an inflection point in college athletics. I mean, when you look at where we've come from and how college athletics and competition with student athletes back in the 19th century and how we've grown from that to now is pretty remarkable. And I think this is just an inflection point in the change of the landscape. But the principle still has to remain the spirit of intercollegiate athletics, which is centered around student athletes. Like, how do you give student athletes the best experience in college and allowing them to have that without those restrictions? And I know it sounds maybe a little Pollyannish, but it's that helps our society, because you're sending out people with these experiences to be productive citizens in society. So, and eventually become leaders in whatever they choose to take in. So choose to decide as a career. So I think we are pointing in the right direction. This is just an inflection point, and one of those times where we have to ensure that we get this as right as possible. And I think getting this as right as possible is ensuring that student athletes don't have to have restrictions. Like, they can be empowered to take advantage of their name, image, and likeness for this to move forward.
Joe, in this discussion, we've talked a lot of state and federal government, and maybe your answer will kind of depend on the perspective of those. But the big question Will and I are curious of here as well is, do you believe some kind of government intervention will be the key to NCAA conformity?
Yes, absolutely. I think that there is. I think when, to your point, Will, about the direction of college athletics, there's always some type of government intervention just to support there. I mean, you go back to President Roosevelt, when he had college football players that were dying on the field, and just pressing to put rules and regulations for player safety back over 100 years ago. So I think the same is said. And what we've seen over the past few years is we've seen states really take the lead on allowing student athletes to take advantage of name, image, and likeness. I think we do need a federal solution, some type of solution, but the solution does not involve, antitrust legislation. It involves how are we empowering student athletes? It involves, how are we letting them take advantage in a uniform basis? And I think that's where the federal government comes in, and it can't be any half measures to that. You have to be able to say, let these student athletes take advantage of their name, image, and likeness. So I think there needs to be that. It just needs to be done correctly. I don't think that where the SCORE Act is, it doesn't meet that mark. And also, again, there's a draft of an executive order, doesn't either at this time.
So, Joe, you have a bill. The bill has purpose. What's next? How does it become law in Michigan? And you think you got a shot at getting this thing through?
Yes, so we still have about a year and a half left in session. We're still working through a state budget, so that's going to, that's going to be the priority. I think that there are opportunities for this to receive a hearing. I have to talk to the committee chairs and several of my other colleagues as well too. But I think it does. It has an opportunity because for I think for all of us, we know that college athletics, it's one of those through lines that connects all of us. It's kind of one of those just commonalities. You can't, and I know with my colleagues in the Michigan legislature, I think everyone has a favorite college athletics team, whether it's, a school that they graduated from or one they grew up watching, compete. And so I think this is something that is going to be near and dear to everyone. And how are you making sure that student athletes are being protected and empowered because they want to see the game and college athletics continue to move on. They still want to see this competition because it's enjoyable. And I think there is a shot here in this legislative session to get that done.
Well, Joe, I sure appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you, Will. Thanks, Dalton.
Some of the thoughts of a longtime friend, Joe Tate. Well, when we come back with more of the Sports Life, we're going to talk some volleyball in just a moment.
So, got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
Here's a real-life story that affects 50% of all of us out there. It's called divorce. If you've gotten divorced and now you're struggling to pay your bills and your credit card debts are completely out of control, you need to call this special debt relief hotline right now. We help people with all kinds of money problems caused by different life challenges, a divorce, a job loss, even heavy medical bills. All these life events can sometimes financially stress you out and cause you to get out of control. We help people get their lives back by showing them ways to consolidate and reduce their debt, in some cases for a fraction of what they owe. If your credit card balances are more than $10,000, call us and learn how to reduce your credit card bills and monthly payments now. Here's our number.
Paid for by Debt.com. Call now, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584. That's 800-810-1584.
Hear that? That's you trying to fix the plumbing yourself to save a few bucks. Doing things yourself doesn't always end well. The same goes for insurance. That's why Auto Owners works with local independent agents who tailor coverage to meet your needs and offer discounts for life, home, car, and business insurance. Because sometimes you need a professional to get the job done right.
I'm okay.
That's simple human sense. Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Unlike other health concerns, mental illness is not always easy to see. Depression won't show up on an eye chart, and you can't measure it on your bathroom scale. Sorting out a mental health concern is not something to attempt on your own. You won't find a bipolar disorder by looking at a thermometer. Like many other health conditions, help for mental illness takes professional diagnosis and treatment. Anxiety won't just go away under a stick-on bandage. So the sooner you seek treatment, the better. If you or a loved one has a mental health concern, don't go it alone. Find out what to do. For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP. Learn more at samhsa.gov/support. That's samhsa.gov/support.
And welcome back for more of The Sports Life. Will Teeman here along with Dalton Shetler. Well, as we said before the break, volleyball is right around the corner, and the Big Ten had their media days. And joining us to talk about Big Ten volleyball, Elena Shklyar. And she is a 4-year player at Michigan State, part of the Big Ten Network now, heading into her 3rd season. And Elena, I guess the first question I have for you, at what point and how did the Big Ten become the #1 volleyball league in America?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's great to be back chatting with you guys, and volleyball season is right ahead of us, so I'm so pumped. But yeah, the Big Ten Conference has been the best for honestly as long as I've known, as long as I've watched volleyball. I know, back in the early 2000s was when the Pac-12 kind of had more of their glory days, but ever since Russ Rose took over at Penn State and they had that run in the late 2000s of winning 4 national championships in a row, and since Nebraska joined the Big Ten, it's just been the best volleyball conference, in my opinion, by far, in the country. There's other conferences that are getting better each year, which is amazing to see, that there's not as much, difference between the conferences anymore. But the Big Ten, just from top to bottom, I mean, every single night is a battle, and we have multiple teams now, especially adding those 4 West Coast schools that have multiple national championships under their belt and just rich traditions of success. So it's been the best for as long as I can remember.
Well, and Elena, all those teams got together earlier this week at the Big Ten Volleyball Media Days, which now has spanned over a course of a couple of different days, which again goes to show the growth of popularity of what this conference and this sport has become for Big Ten Volleyball. But I'm curious, what were your observations from the Big Ten Volleyball Media Days?
Yeah, just how much the sport has grown. I mean, the Big Ten Conference is the only conference that puts together media days for volleyball. So seeing the growth of the sport and the fans and just overall between Big Ten volleyball, NCAA volleyball, professional volleyball, the growth of the sport was a huge theme throughout media days. Another one that I really enjoyed talking about and learning more about was just within the conference, the amount of female head coaches that we have that are not only coaching in this conference, but coaching at their alma maters. There's 5 female head coaches, Katie Schumacher-Colley at Penn State, who obviously just won a national championship with her alma mater. She was the first ever female head coach to win a national championship in NCAA volleyball. So seeing how the Big Ten is picking up on that, and there's so many strong women leading these programs, was another awesome theme we talked about the last couple of days. But overall, just all these players, all 18 schools, 36 student athletes, all head coaches were there. They're just hungry and they're ready to get the season going. And the amount of talent there is, there's been a lot of new faces joining new programs from the transfer portal and a lot of movement there, but the amount of talent is off the charts, and it just gets everyone really excited for the season to start.
Well, you talked about those coaches, and I want to ask you about two of them. I mean, there's a lot of great stories here, but one being Lincoln, Nebraska. John Cook, after 25 years, led the Huskers for a quarter of a century, decides to step away and retire, and now coaching the Cornhuskers is Danny Busboom Kelly. And I'm also curious to ask you about Michigan State's new head coach, Kristen Kelsey, because, of course, Michigan State was your alma mater. Didn't know if you had any overlap with Kristen Kelsey at any different point throughout her career and your career. Between Nebraska and Michigan State, your thoughts on those two spots?
Yeah, they're two incredible head coaches, and they're both joining their programs in very, very different positions. I mean, Danny going into Nebraska, she won there a national championship as a player. She won one as an assistant coach, and then started her head coaching career and went over to Louisville, where she's taken them to 3 straight Final Fours and 2 national championship appearances in her time there. So she's joining a Nebraska program that John Cook is a legend. The legacy he left behind at Nebraska is absolutely unbelievable, but she also has had so much success on her own that I feel like she's going to step into this program and put her own spin on it. And we got to listen to a couple of her players at media days talk about the impact she's already had on the program, just with, you know, her creativity as a head coach and just the power that she holds being a female head coach. But coming in after John Cook is not an easy thing to do, but I think if anyone can do it, it's going to be Danny. And then at Michigan State, I mean, obviously it's my alma mater, and Kristen Kelsey is the reason I went to Michigan State. She recruited me when I was a freshman in high school, and she was my position coach. She played there, she recruited me there, and she was there when I got there as a freshman, and I consider her now one of my best friends. It was incredible to see her at media days. And there's no one better to lead this program than Kristen Kelsey. She literally bleeds green. She has had so much coaching experience in the Big Ten, and no one cares more about Michigan State and their tradition and the alumni and everyone that came before them and just what it means to be a Spartan more than Kristen. So she's going to be in a bit of a rebuild this season because there's been some movement with the program and, bringing Michigan State back up to the NCAA tournament and the success that we've historically had. So I can't wait to see what she does, but both of those coaches, I think, are the exact right picks for their programs, and it's their alma maters. There's just a little bit something more for them there because they put on those jerseys and have played as part of, the Nebraska volleyball and the Michigan State volleyball programs.
So who are the teams to chase for a championship this season?
I mean, obviously Nebraska, obviously Penn State. Penn State is the, reigning national champions. It'd be silly for me not to say Penn State. They're coming back with Izzy Stark, the National Freshman of the Year. They just got the best transfer, in my opinion, Kennedy Martin coming from Florida. But they were picked number 2 overall in the preseason poll for Big Ten. Nebraska was picked above them, which just speaks to the overall strength of this conference, that the national champions were picked number 2 in the preseason poll. But I mean, Nebraska is returning a handful of All-Americans, 2-time Big Ten Setter of the Year, Bergen Riley, Harper Murray, Rebecca Alec, Andy Jackson, the list goes on. So those 2, I think, are definitely ahead above the rest when it comes to who's the favorite for winning the Big Ten this season.
Is there a dark horse out there somewhere, some team that may surprise everybody?
Yeah, I feel like just because they're still new to the conference and they have some new faces, my pick's going to be UCLA. UCLA has an incredible coach in Alfie Reft. He has experience with the national team, and he probably won the transfer portal this offseason. He got like 5 extremely talented and experienced transfers coming into his program, from Louisville, from Long Beach State, from Texas. He's just got so much experience coming in. So they were picked number 5, but I wouldn't be shocked to see them kind of crack the top 3. And same with Minnesota. Minnesota came in picked 4th, but Minnesota has so much talent with Julia Hansen and a couple key positions that they're going to have to fill. But those are my 2 that I would definitely not overlook.
Well, Elena, as always, we appreciate it. It should be a fun season.
Yes, absolutely. It'll be great. Thanks for having me.
Some of the thoughts about the upcoming Big Ten volleyball season from Elena Shklyar, a member of the BTN TV crew. Big Ten Volleyball, best in the nation. Going to get another national championship? We'll find out soon enough. Well, when we come back, Dalton and I are going to talk to the guy who's got the #1 basketball tournament going on right now. But first, a break.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender?
How little?
A few days in the shop little, but thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto Owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask.
Ask your independent agent if Auto Owners makes sense for you.
This is a potter's field. When people can't pay for their funerals, they are buried here. It is a lonely, desolate place, littered with unmarked headstones. No one visits. No one leaves flowers. But it doesn't have to be that way. For as low as $1 a day, you can ensure your family will have the money to pay your funeral expenses. We offer burial insurance plans that pay up to $30,000. Considering the average funeral costs more than $10,000, that's peace of mind for your family. There are no medical exams, your rates won't increase, and your policy cannot be canceled as long as you make your premium payments. Call now to get approved in minutes and ensure your final resting place is more than just a pauper's grave in a potter's field.
800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. That's 800-562-2407. Paid for by Final Expense Direct.
So you call your virtual insurance company to ask a simple question about your policy, but now you're on hold, listening to this music, while you wait and wait and wait. Auto Owners works with local independent agents who tailor coverage to meet your needs and pick up the phone when you call, because you shouldn't be on hold so long that you memorize the music. That's simple human sense. Ask your independent agent if Auto Owners makes sense for you.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
Alex is just...
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. Will Teeman here along with Dalton Shetler. And don't forget, Auto Owners Insurance, simple human sense. Ask your independent agent if Auto Owners make sense for you. Well, here we sit just a handful of weeks away from the start of the college football season in the Big Ten, but there's a pretty fun basketball tournament going on. It's been going on now 12 straight years, and it's called the basketball tournament. And the guy that came up with this, John Mugar, had an idea how you could have a winner-take-all $1 million deal. And it seemed a little crazy at the time, especially when he talked about a different ending to it. But it works, and it's fun, and everybody has embraced it. And John, welcome to our show. And I'd like to start off by talking about the history of this thing. When you came up with this idea, here we are 12 years later, did you think it would become almost a traditional tournament?
Yeah, thanks for having me back on, Will and Dalton. We had no idea what was going to happen, to be honest with you. I think it was 2011 we came up with the idea. I was texting back and forth with a childhood friend of mine, Dan Friel, who was a U.S. attorney in New Orleans at the time. I was a producer and writer out in L.A. at the time. And we were texting and saying, what would happen if you put $50 million on the table and allowed any basketball team in the world to play for it? Would you get NBA teams to enter? Would Duke enter? Would college basketball teams enter? Would people from the YMCA be able to compete? Could the best women in the world compete? We love the anarchy of that format. And what started out as just a talking point on a Sunday just became an obsession as far as how to make a model like that work. And we really had no idea how it would go or if it would go. But here we are 12 years later.
Well, and Will had referenced the Elam ending, this unique ending that really kind of had liftoff thanks to the format and the bracket, the tournament that you all have. I understand you guys recently had a really wild finish involving the Elam ending. Can you explain it as short as possible? I know that's kind of difficult, but also what the exciting events it's created has been.
Yeah, we get a 67-page PowerPoint deck emailed to us 5 years ago from someone named Nick Elam, and it came right to our inbox, info@thetournament.com. And his whole point was he went back and recorded 2,000 basketball games in, I think, 2009 to 2015. And he found at the end of game, the only strategy that trailing teams have is to foul. And so you see a march to the free throw line, especially in March Madness with these high-stakes games. The trailing coaches, all they can do is foul. They send the opposing team to the free throw line. And out of those 2,000 games he recorded, only 11 times did the trailing team come back and win. So it's the only strategy coaches have to employ, and it's a flawed strategy, but most importantly, it's a very frustrating style of play for people watching. So the last minute of the game can take 15 minutes long, and you already basically know the result of the game. So his whole point was, can you get to the end of the game and set a target score instead of letting the clock run out with 4 minutes to go, which is the leading team score +8, and the first team to the target score wins. And what that does is it completely eliminates all of that intentional fouling that happens at the end of the game. It eliminates the march to the free throw line. And we've been using it for 5 years. It's Chris Paul is a co-owner in our event, and he put it into the NBA All-Star Game in 2020, which I think is the best All-Star Game ever in Chicago. The way that game ended was unbelievable. But the result of this format is that it's so revealing of players' characters at the end of the game, because some people step up and love the pressure, and some people are looking for the other guys to take the shot. And so you never know going into that final period how long it's going to take and what type of people are out there and who the clutch player is going to be to step up and win the game.
So, John, in terms of the teams, do they just say we want to come in? Do you have a qualifying thing? How's that work?
Yeah, I'd say year-round we get interest from people coming to our website, emailing us saying, hey, how do I be a part of this? Typically, the interest coincides with the games being on TV. So this past couple of weeks, we've gotten a bunch of people who have reached out saying, how do I play in this event? I'd love to form my own team. Or, I have a group of people I went to college with. How can we put an alumni team? So we're constantly talking to people about entering their own team.
Well, and John, you talk about some of those teams that get formed, and you had said at one point, would college teams join? And one of the niches that this has found is alums of college teams form teams together. And the Big Ten had, 4 of them this year with Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana, and Maryland. It seems like Maryland had a pretty decent run, nearly got to the semifinals, but the Big Ten has a heavy hand in this tournament.
Yeah, they do. And this is one of the interesting dynamics of this tournament we didn't necessarily foresee, is groups of alumni coming back together. And why we love it and why everyone loves it is that fans really embrace it. It's the summertime, it's off season for college basketball fans. To have a group of alumni who are still playing professionally at a higher level than when they played in college come back to their hometown and play in a meaningful competitive event, it's great for fans in Kentucky, Louisville, Maryland, Penn State, any of these fans, diehard fans of college basketball. So we're giving them some basketball content in the summer with people that are beloved in those communities.
Well, and John, along those lines, we talked about the Big Ten alums and some of those groups, but who are some of the biggest stars that have been involved with this tournament if we're just now introducing it to people? If this is their first happenstance across this event, who's the biggest stars you've had before, and who are some of the biggest stars and biggest names that were involved this year?
We've gotten some NBA players who people would know, like Joe Johnson, Mike Bibby, Jason Williams, Scalabrini, people like that have played in the event. From college basketball, there was Jimmer Fredette played maybe 4 or 5 years after he won College Player of the Year. As you alluded to, some of those Ohio State teams had Sullinger and Aaron Kraft on it when they were all still playing professionally overseas. So we have a lot of household names in these various markets. Syracuse is another one. Buddy Boeheim just played for their team. He just went from summer league to playing on their team. And there are a lot of these players that appeal to these markets.
Well, as you get ready to wrap up year 12, what do you think you're going to do to make it better for year 13?
We're always talking far ahead. Before the tournament started, our head was in 2026 and different format changes we can make. So I don't have a good answer for that yet, but we're always talking about different format changes, whether we increase the size of the field, decrease the size of the field. It's always top of mind to increase the prize pool. The idea started at $50 million prize. I still think that's interesting. It's at $1 million now. So it's always a game of how we can ramp up the stakes, make it even more competitive, and appeal to as many fans as possible.
You know, I'm trying to think, John. I can't imagine shooting for $1 million. I don't know if I could walk and talk if I was shooting for $50 million. I think nerves may get me a little bit.
Well, if you think it's nerve-wracking for the players, it's even worse for me.
So anyway, here we are. We're coming up on the weekend, and somebody's going to shoot and win $1 million for his team. What's that like?
Yeah, and we know exactly, because of the Elam ending, we know exactly what time. It'll be on Fox on Sunday. The game starts at 4, so that $1 million shot will be going in at about 5:55 p.m. on Fox.
Well, as always, we appreciate you joining us. Good luck with the final.
Thanks, Will. Thanks, Dalton.
Some of the thoughts of John Mugar, the head of the basketball tournament. It's really become kind of a fun thing in the summer, especially if you like college basketball. So when we come back with more of the sports life, our parting shots in just a moment.
So, got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
If you have diabetes, listen up. If you have insurance, you can qualify for a continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends and spend more time in range, significantly lowering your A1C. More importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and if you've seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for your own CGM right now. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances will cover your CGM, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the Aptiva Medical CGM Health Hotline right now.
800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. That's 800-948-6912.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender?
How little?
A few days in the shop little, but thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Anybody ready for a burger?
I'm State Fire Marshal Rich Miller, reminding everyone to think safety first when it comes to outdoor grilling, whether it's charcoal or gas. Never overload your grill with food. Excess fat and grease will create large flames. Grill outdoors and never inside or in a garage. Never leave a grill unattended and always keep a fire extinguisher nearby. For more tips on safe grilling, visit the Bureau of Fire Services website at michigan.gov/BFS.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind for parents if a child is sick or gets injured. And parents may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if they've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. We'll team in here along with Dalton Shetler. Interesting show this week. Joe Tate, representative in the state of Michigan House of Representatives, talked about a bill that can not only help athletes, he thinks, in their work with NIL, but also, Dalton, would give the state of Michigan maybe an advantage over other states as schools within the state are recruiting players. Always fun to talk a little volleyball. And John Mugar, the inventor of the basketball tournament, who would have thought? 12 years later, we're still talking about $1 million shot. How good is that, huh?
Sure is.
Well, we have now worked our way to our parting shots. What do you think?
And by the way, if you missed any of that or you just want to hear the entire show again, make sure you give us a follow at Sports Life Now on Twitter or X. We are called at Sports Life Now. Make sure you give us a follow and you can catch all the content there. For my parting shot, I wanted to highlight what was a release from the Big Ten Conference earlier this week. And of course, we talked earlier about the Big Ten Volleyball Media Days and all the hype as that season comes quickly around the corner. But 79 Big Ten volleyball matches will be televised in 2025. They'll be on the Big Ten Network, they'll be on Fox, FS1, and NBC. I just wanted to take a moment to highlight that because I think it shows a couple of things. One, there's a growing interest in Big Ten volleyball, and where you're starting to see it be picked up and nationally televised 79 times. But also, Will, you and I have these conversations off the air quite a bit. Cable TV isn't what it used to be. With all the streaming services and everything else, programming and finding things to get people to the TV, it's a different day and age nowadays. But one thing that we can all agree on brings people at a specific time to the television: live sports. And right now, the Big Ten is taking advantage of it with its television partners, NBC, Fox, and of course the Big Ten Network, to put some live volleyball right in front of the viewers, and it continues to grow because of it.
I mean, think about this, Dalton. Did you ever think you'd be mentioning networks in volleyball?
It's crazy, but it's also just the beginning. This is going to continue to grow.
Well, my parting shot, I'm going to have a little fun and go back to Big Ten football media days. And Michigan defensive end Derek Moore, he made a little joke at the expense of Ohio State when he talked about their national title. He said it's not a real win because they didn't beat the Wolverines. He said he'd like to congratulate them, but even though they were an 8 seed and wound up winning the first ever 12-team playoffs to become the national champs, he said, you know, it ain't no real win if y'all ain't beat us.
Never too early to start some rivalry chatter, huh?
By the way, shortly after that, Michigan coach Sharon Moore said, we congratulate Ohio State and give them full credit, which was a pretty good comeback. Well, that wraps up our show for this week. Appreciate everybody joining us. And we should also note that you can find us wherever you find your podcasts, like SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple. And make sure to check us out and hit subscribe. As always, we thank the Big Ten Network. The Sports Life is produced by Dalton Shetler, and our executive producer is Wendy Hart. So on behalf of Dalton Shetler, I'm Will Tiemann, and thanks for your time.